morning. It's Wednesday. I am so excited to be with you all again. You know it's time for our Wayne Chronicles, and I have a lot to talk about today. First of all, thanks to my brother-in-law. I'm wearing my Support Black Businesses Without Asking for a Discount t-shirt. Ease Quality Tees, great company. You can find them on Instagram, I think Facebook, everywhere. If you would like to look at their inventory and you don't see it, just send me a DM or Instagram message or however you want to reach me, or go to my website and just shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get the information. Today's show is, I have a lot. First and foremost, there are a few things I have to do before I start shows. Make sure you follow me on my social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube, Dr. Woodson 2020. Thanks again to Java 365 for helping to sponsor. If you put in code Woodson20, you get a discount and they support our scholarship fund at my foundation. So excited about that. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not remind everyone that my magazine, RWYN, is launching June 4th. Tickets are at rwynlaunch.eventbrite.com. And we are still looking for a couple of event sponsors. We are almost to our goal. If you have a company or if you're an individual and you'd like support, make sure you send me a message, or you can go to rwaynewoodson.com/rwynmag and you can do it online. If you have my number, text, call, or whatever. We really want to make sure this is a great success. We are also looking for a few vendors who would be willing to help that evening with some items that we need. So if you are a baker or a chef, or you have just started any kind of food service company, make sure you reach out to me because we might have some opportunities, including some ad space in the inaugural issue. So I'm excited about all of that happening, but let's get into it today. So I always start with my special topics. Good morning, Dr. Glover. So special topics today, I have a few. First and foremost, there are $3 million worth of unsold Girl Scout cookies in a warehouse in Atlanta. I never really realized what that money goes for. I have always eaten Girl Scout cookies. If you buy me some Samoas, I'm happy. But this story was kind of interesting. I did not realize that money that is raised with those Girl Scout cookies supports 1.7 million girls across the country with support programming. So if you are interested in helping, I'm so proud. Michael Thurman, the CAB CEO, chair of the Board of Trustees at Payne, announced that the county will be buying 20,000 of those boxes. And there are a few other people and a few other companies that are helping, but let's try to support. I know a lot of young girls of various demographics that are actually in the Girl Scouts, and if we can help, let's do our part. They did say in the article, though, that cookies that are not sold, they do donate in various things, but then that revenue is lost. So let's support them. I also want to make sure I note, some of you have asked where the music comes from all of my shows. My little brother does my beats. If you are interested or you need beats, his Instagram is _JK808. 1_JK808. Second story for this morning. So I was reading, I've heard people talking about the stuff going on in India with lack of oxygen because of COVID and a number of other things. And it was just interesting to me, some of the information I looked up, that there is now a court that is threatening to punish the Indian government officials if they fail to deliver oxygen to hospitals overwhelmed with COVID cases. It's interesting to me that they're going to have to file charges against the government when should be the government's purpose. But they have very astonishing demographics. In February, they saw this huge decline, so they opened back up. Doesn't that sound familiar? They opened back up. People started having these large events and all these things. Even the prime minister started having political rallies again. Well, now they are reaching, one day there was over 400,000 new cases in that country. And they are second in deaths behind the United States. So I am concerned, of course. The other challenge is only 2% of their population has been vaccinated. That's 150 million doses administered for a population of 1.3 billion people. So, this is still an issue. I know states are opening back up. The governor of Florida just announced that he's releasing all restrictions. You all can understand my comments and thoughts on that decision because we are no longer in a state of emergency. So I'm wondering what has to be an emergency. I mean, I guess more people need to die or things in order for it to be an emergency. But that's where we are. Next, this privilege is just starting to drive me crazy. So they announced that 2 Denver police officers have been suspended for using excessive force in last year's racial justice protest. I am glad that people are starting to be charged and things and sanctioned. I don't think a suspension is quite enough if people are doing things like tear gassing protesters that are not being violent. And of course, the Derek Chauvin fiasco continues. Yesterday, his defense team filed for a new trial because of prosecutorial misconduct. So let me tell you some of the things that they are calling misconduct. The location, the pretrial publicity, there was jury intimidation and fear of retribution. We go through that all the time, where we feel these same things are issues and we are never granted a new trial. I am glad that this judge has stood his ground, has denied these requests for a new trial. He said he is not even hearing a new trial. I'm also glad the prosecutor said they are still pushing forward to get the full impact on this person. So Derek Chauvin, just give it up. Do your time. You did the crime, now do your time. And white privilege is starting to just drive me nuts. And it's not just in the media. So last week I went to Publix. Some of you know that I've had some health challenges over the last year. I do have a handicap sticker. When you get a handicap sticker, you actually submit paperwork to the Department of Motor Vehicles so they can give you that permit and that your doctors will sign off on it, express there's a real need. So I get to Publix the other day, and this woman, you can imagine her demographic, this woman walks up to my car and proceeds to challenge me about why I'm parking in a handicap spot. Saying that, I don't look handicapped and people really need these spots. She should be really glad that she got this version of me and not the me of about 15 years ago, because that person would not have responded the same way. But you cannot judge what people's ailments may be because they don't look like they're sick. Most people who are ill do their best not to look like it. My first reaction was probably to haul off and hit the lady. But I had to remember that she is ignorant. She also should be concerned walking up to a 6'6" black man who weighs 200 pounds and challenging him. In this day and age with the racial tension on, she could have ended up shot. She could have ended up knocked upside her head, laying on the ground. So I was very disturbed about this situation. What I did was just, I said a few choice words, as those of you who know me can probably understand. And then I told her she needed to go on about her business. So it's been an interesting week with news and, my special topics. I am not going to address these Tim Scott and Kamala Harris comments. They said the same thing from a different perspective. Look it up if you're interested. I still support our vice president. But today's topic, you are the enemy. So where did this come from? The other day, I was watching a live Mark Coley. I'm really big on Mark Coley right now. He's doing wonderful things. And he was just discussing some scenarios about, pretty much us getting in our own way. And if you all have been watching the show for a couple of weeks, that's kind of been my theme, us getting in our own way. And he was just discussing how, those of us who are Christians and have these amazing prayer lives are always praying to God to remove the enemy and blah, 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 and all of those things. But then the challenge is we are not doing the work. We are getting in our own way. And I am speaking from a personalist perspective because that I have been doing that. I have been getting in my own way. I have been, my own enemy. It is not always these external forces. And I'll just be very specific. A lot of the past year, I was battling depression, and there were times I just didn't even want to get out the bed. Lots was going on. Right before the pandemic, I lost my brother, and that was not an easy thing to process. I have lost a number of siblings over the last year and a half, and it had just become a whole lot. And then to be locked in the house, without the ability to really do anything, it was a lot. And I had unknowingly really taken on this decision, I'll say, to just not do anything. But I still wanted outcomes. I still wanted my goals to be met. I still wanted all of these things. But sometimes you are the enemy of your own success. We always want to blame it on other people. We always want to blame it on, especially us. It's always the government, or it's always some other person that is creating the chaos. But perhaps you were creating the chaos. Perhaps the reason none of your relationships are working is because of you. What are you putting out in the universe? And I'm not even saying if you're a Christian, but just as a person, are you getting back the same energy you're putting out? If you're putting out negativity, if you're putting out mess, if you are always involved in some kind of mess and controversy, then that is exactly what you're going to get back. If you are not putting out positivity, if you are not positive in your own life and motivating yourself and just setting goals and trying to reach those goals, and it's not always about being successful, it's about having some kind of direction. A lot of you know I'm a consultant, and as a consultant, a lot of what I do is strategic planning. So those are like the roadmaps for organizations. If organizations need some kind of roadmap, why would you think you don't? If you have started a company, for instance, and I'll just make something up, you start a catering company, but you're not letting anyone know that you're a caterer, well, how are you going to get business? That's the issue. How are you going to get business? An associate of mine, Brian Reeves, has started a catering company. And he, had a dinner where he invited some influential people. Those kinds of things are important. You have to have some kind of plan of action. Gone are the days you just jump out there. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but being an entrepreneur is rough. I was not fully aware how rough it was until I jumped out here in this ocean. But it is rough. There are benefits that come with working for someone where even if you don't meet some of the goals, your paycheck still comes. But when you are working for yourself and these benchmarks or these goals are critical to revenue generation, that's a lot. Especially if you have other people that work for you and that are depending on you, that is a heavy burden. So what you can't do is become your own enemy. You can't sit there and, be praying to God for all these things and then you're doing nothing. There's this old quote that says, if you take one step, he'll take two. When I was growing up, one of my family's favorite poems was Footprints. And in that poem, it discusses this man walking across the beach and they're with Jesus. And there are two sets of footprints. And then all of a sudden, there's one set of footprints. And you're like, the first reaction is, Jesus left. But we find out in reading that poem that those were the times that Jesus was carrying the man in his roughest moments. And that's what we have to do. We have to become and remain the positive lights in our lives. That's important. No matter what is happening externally, we cannot become our own enemies in a way that hinders what we're supposed to be doing. So as you work this week, I want everybody to really think about what are some of the negative things or some of the challenges that are creating the paradigm in which you live that you can change. If you have associations that are not beneficial, that are negative, those things can be changed. If there are some goals that you need to set for your company and there's no roadmap, you can begin to develop a roadmap. You can begin to develop relationships. We don't always just have to sit there and pray, like I said, pray until something happens. Yeah, that's great. But sometimes the something happening is in the natural realm. If you are ill, you can sit there and pray all day, but the Lord did give us doctors. So we have to move forward in a way that is beneficial, that is positive, that is inspiring and empowering, not just for ourselves, but to all the people who will be connected to us. I used to say all the time that, when you are not fulfilling your call, it is not just impacting you, but it is impacting the destinies of everyone who is connected to or will be connected to you as you do the work. And that's what it's all about. Doing that work and being your own motivational force. Today's show's simple. Get out of your own way. I almost said something else there, but I'm trying to keep it PG. Get out of your own way. Which brings me back to we have some sponsorships and opportunities to advertise in the first issue of the magazine. Go to my website, rwaynewoodson.com/RWYN mag, and you can get information on that. Someone spoke to me the other day, and I've mentioned it before, that they were saying they didn't have a lot of money to help support the vision. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. And that's even in life. You can do a whole lot with very few resources. It doesn't always take a lot of money to make an impact. If you really look at anything, and I am so glad that it's not new, that image has been circulating over the course of the last few months of Amazon and how it started with this one desk and this little written sign up on the wall. This $1 trillion company that many of us really utilized during this pandemic. I know where I live, we had packages coming almost every day because it was easy. We didn't have to go out. They really stand behind their shipping time frames, although I do have some issues with these new things that are coming out about the conditions for the workers. We'll discuss that another time. But you expect that kind of excellence, and that's what we got. So you can sponsor on for my magazine without a lot of money. If you just go there and look up the information, it's there for you. I am so excited about what is happening this week. Just in terms of my businesses, in terms of people, I'm watching people launching businesses. I'm watching people's businesses grow, and I'm excited about that. I also would like to say, I'm not sure if I'll have a show next week because I am actually next week going to celebrate my birthday, and that is not something that historically I have done. I do not often celebrate myself. I do not often acknowledge the things that I'm doing. And that's just, something I'm working on. So next week, I'm actually going to celebrate my birthday, which means on Wednesday, I might not have a show because my birthday is on Friday. The last thing I want to go through this morning is, many of you know that I have a foundation, and my foundation really supports students at HBCUs, and that's what we do. We are expanding our reach. We will be expanding our scholarship offerings to our HBCU students across the country for next year, especially as many of them return to their campuses for on-campus, in-person learning. If you would like to contribute to the foundation, it's the woodsonfoundation.org/support. I'm glad that over the last 12 months, we have offered almost $10,000 in scholarships and other support to students across the country, especially as they've been at home learning and really trying to maintain the level of excellence that they're used to. I would like to expand that. We're looking at supporting up to $50,000 in scholarships over the next year. And so we do need your support to do that. And I would just like to also shout out all of our HBCUs and institutions of higher learning across the board as they have continued to provide education. Good morning. As they have continued to provide education to students during this pandemic. It has not been easy. I am intimately aware of the challenges of doing that. And so just shout out to all of them. And it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And I do want to end this morning's show thanking all of our educators. I have a number of friends who are serving in classrooms across this country, from pre-K all the way through colleges and universities, and the work they're doing is instrumental to our young people. And I do personally want to thank you, and the foundation thanks you. It is not easy. I have heard some of these horror stories of what is going on in terms of being able to provide educational opportunities for students during this time. So thank you so much for all you're doing. Like I said, I'll let you all know by Monday if I'm here on Wednesday. Have a great week. And just remember to do something to improve yourself over the next week.